So hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 20, 20 of Trial Run. And I'm here with Kane from an undisclosed location with the skulls of his enemies behind him.
Real people right there, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And then there's Geiger.
Yeah. Say man, what's up? How you doing?
It's been a little crazy. I'm sorry we didn't get to do this last week or week before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been busy. I've actually been traveling all over the place doing some crazy network installs for an unnamed company. I'm under NDA, otherwise I'd tell you guys.
Yeah.
But basically it's a big automation plant, and we're doing a network cutover from the company that they purchased. There's the company that exists now, the company that they purchased, and we're converting the old system into the new system. So it's a lot of Cisco switches installation, and then it's also a couple of ESXi servers going in, and big automation plant, and the machines that are controlling the automation software. It's actually pretty awesome, but that's about the extent of what I can do before I start breaching NDA. So
Yeah. So
they're
you're
using
having fun.
computers. Yeah, I'm having a blast.
Yeah. All right. So as always, let's get into what you've been playing. First question I have for you. Have you had time to play BattleTech?
April 24th.
Is it still not out yet?
April 24th.
Okay. We'll
I
to
have,
check back with you.
however, I've been wearing my BattleTech bomber jacket
Mhm.
whenever I'm traveling to anywhere. And one of the things that has happened to me, I was in Newark on my way back home, and the guy who was guarding the door for the shuttle between terminals
Mhm.
stopped me and was like, "Oh my God, you're that dude from YouTube, right?" I'm like, yes. Maybe. Which one do you think I am? And he was really funny about it. He was really cool. But while I was talking to him, and I'm like, I got a plane to catch. I don't mean to be rude, but. And as I'm talking to him, this pilot walks by and stops and like double backs and goes, "You in the military?" Looks me up and down, sees
Yeah.
former military, and I'm like, not exactly. I'm part of a mech pilot program. It's an HBS division. I mean, I could say something else or more about it, but it's classified. And he was like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool." Like, anyway, and he just kind of was like, "Well, thank you very much for it's good to see you." Blah blah blah. He was very formal about it, and then he kind of beelined down the ramp to go down to the shuttle bus himself.
Huh.
And then the dude who was talking to me, he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's a video game. It's BattleTech." And he goes, "Oh, that game? Yeah, I saw some stuff." He was really cool about it. It was really funny. Anyway, I took a picture of myself. Actually, I was wearing this shirt here and the BattleTech jacket, and I posted it to Twitter. And I was laughing because I basically just retold that story on Twitter. And BattleTech Game and Harebrained Schemes both picked it up, and they got a good chuckle out of it. So I'm pretty stoked. I'm really stoked about the game. I'm so stoked. I have been wearing that jacket. I'm not wearing it now because I'm currently in Arizona, and it's a bloody desert here.
Yeah.
It's really
A
hot.
little warmer.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, 3 days ago, and it was 10 below Celsius,
Mhm.
so like 10, 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was snowing the day that I left, which was awesome because I was like, "Okay, bye."
That's gotta be a shock to your system.
No, I was getting a chuckle out of it because I got off the plane. I'm like, "Oh, it's cold out here." I actually took my jacket off because it was so cold that it was worth
Mhm.
taking the jacket off and get the nice, crisp, cold air. Like, "This is amazing." And people looking at me like I'm nuts. They're like, "You just took your jacket off." I'm like, "Yeah, it's great."
It's brisk, baby.
Yeah, it was awesome. No, I was pretty stoked about it. But yeah, it's been a little crazy. And I've got a little bit more travel coming up before DreamHack. And I'm here in Phoenix for about a week, and then I got to go to Canada and do another one of these install cutovers in Canada,
Mhm.
and then I'm going to Illinois, and I'm going to do another one there, and then I've got like a week of nothing to do, which is basically me probably doing this with you again, and then I will be back here in Phoenix to finish the job here, and then I am back home for 10 days,
Mhm.
and then I go back to Illinois, and then I finish that job, go back home, basically unpack, wash everything, repack, go to Atlanta for MomoCon, where I'm going to be helping out with DreamHack's free play, and then I'm going to go from there directly to DreamHack Austin to construct and build that out, because that's going to be pretty awesome. And I'm excited. I get to run the show this time. Well, not the whole show, but just the network team.
Sweet.
So I'm really, really excited about it.
That'll be pretty cool. Yeah, the only time I've ever been to a LAN where you were running it was LAN Syndicate. That was the only one. So I'm kind of curious how it'll turn out for you.
We've got, I think we've got 2,400 seats that we've got just for the BYOC.
Wow.
And then we've got the 5 main stages with all the esports stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, there's, vendors are going to be there. And I think we have a stream zone. I have to double check my network map and the layout map, but I think we have a stream zone. So we're gonna have like 5 or 6 streamers that are gonna be there streaming, broadcasting the whole time, and we have to dedicate some bandwidth out for them. We have to dedicate bandwidth for the main stage and all of the esports stages, and then everything else that's going on with the BYOC is gonna have a chunk, and then free play gets some stuff as well. We got a big LAN cache server that runs everything.
Steam.
Steam, Blizzard, Origin. There's another one I can't remember right off the top of my head, but all of those guys. And then we were just hoping that nobody goes and cuts the fiber cable 5 miles up the road like they did in Atlanta last year.
Yeah, that would suck.
Oh, it was kind of annoying. It was like 12:30 in the afternoon. We just kicked into gear at like 9 a.m. And at 12:30 in the afternoon, that fiber got cut. And we went from 6.5 gigs a second to nothing immediately. It was pretty annoying. It was pretty crazy.
I want to go to more LANs. If I could, I would. That's just all I would do, all the time. Just go to LANs. I wish I could just do it as a job. Just go to the LAN. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm hoping to. We've got DreamHack Austin.
Yeah.
DreamHack Atlanta is going to be in. I think it's November.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to bump into the guys from Wichita LAN at Austin. I think they're going to come down. I'm pretty sure they are. If I haven't accepted them onto the team, I have to go back and double check my numbers. So.
All right, cool. So let's see. Back to what what you've been playing. The only.
What have I been Into the Breach? I have been playing Into the Breach.
Been playing it too.
That's the only thing I've had. Directly accessible to me. I had it on the laptop, and I'm just like going crazy with it.
Yeah.
I haven't really had anything else. It's a nice little puzzle game, and it doesn't require a lot of time investment.
No.
I've also been playing my portable Zelda player.
I'm really jealous.
I will trade you my portable Zelda player for your non-portable Super Nintendo. I'm kidding. I don't really want it. I'm going to make this do that.
I was actually considering that.
No, this I couldn't get rid of this. This one I got as a Christmas present, so I can't get rid of it. Portable Zelda player, everybody. That's all it does. It's play Zelda. It doesn't even get on the internet. Like, there's no Wi-Fi, or I've never turned it on because
there's Wi-Fi. You just never used it.
No, I have no desire to get that thing to go, I'm going to update. And then as soon as it updates, I'm going to get notification that the homebrew crew has figured out how to install a homebrew type software stuff on here. And then by my updating it, eliminated that from being able to be done. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, they've gotten some of that working. There's some stuff like Super Mario World and stuff that they have gotten working on it. I also saw that there's, what is it called? Ryu something. It's an emulator. They're now starting. They got Cave Story to boot from the Switch on PC now.
Nice.
So, getting a little close to emulation there.
Yeah. I mean, emulation would be really easy. You just got to get an NVIDIA graphics card because it's effectively running a Tegra.
Yeah.
And that's all you need is 1080 Ti should be able to run this thing, no problem.
Yeah. Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, Into the Breach, I like it. It's simple. It's quick. It's really good for when you only have maybe 10, 15 minutes to sit down and play something. And
I think I treat it like it is XCOM, like mini XCOM.
XCOM Lite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In iron mode.
Yeah. I do enjoy being the mech and punching things into the sea or other places.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you started messing with the custom mech configurations?
hmm It's pretty neat.
Uh, right now, I've been playing through it where I have three guys who have the punch mech,
hmm
because I found that to be most effective in my play style so far.
Yeah.
And I actually beat it. I beat the whole thing with those guys just so I could unlock that thing. Because when you start unlocking, you start accomplishing things. It
Mhm.
actually has a reward system, so you don't just go, "Good job, here's a gold star."
Yeah.
It's "Good job, here's a gold star," and you get other mechs, or you get new players or new characters, new pilots to put into the mechs, which is cool. I like that ability that you can manipulate who's piloting what. You can you can change the mechs around. You can change your mech configuration. There's a couple of colors just as you beat different things in different
Yeah.
ways. It's made by the same people who made FTL, so it's the same kind of process with that, right? You do some rather obscure thing with that one ship, and you unlock a next version of that ship, or you unlock another ship, or you unlock other random bits and pieces and cool things. I mean, I'm really stoked by it. I'm really stoked by that game.
Yeah. They did a really good job with it. It's a good successor to FTL. I really enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Now on to things that aren't really that good that I've played this week. Sea of Thieves. Now I had a blast with Sea of Thieves, but it was more as I was analyzing it. It was because I was doing dumb shit with my friends, and not so much because of the game. The game has some things that are pretty funny about it. I do like getting drunk and trying to play pirate tunes. That comes out sounding great. It's funny because you have a bucket to bail your water out of your boat and your inventory. If you get drunk enough, you can actually A, just throw up on your friends, but B, you can throw up into a bucket and then throw it on your friends.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me that I should play that game, and I'm like, I'll put it on my list of things to try.
It. I will say this: if you don't have Game Pass, if you've never had Game Pass, you can get 2 weeks for free. It's on there for Game Pass, so you play it for free. I think 2 weeks is plenty of time to get what you need out of that game, and then move
On Origin?
So, no, on the Microsoft Store because it's a
Oh,
Microsoft game. So
gotcha. Yeah, I have
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Microsoft Store.
it's weird. It's got that very rare kind of art style they've had since like Grab by the Goalies and stuff like that. Um, Other than that, mostly just PUBG because I'm forever addicted to that game. So there's nothing to
I
really
still
say there.
have been able to say I haven't played any of those.
Yeah,
No PUBG, no Fortnite.
yeah.
I know there's another one, and I don't remember what it's called.
H1Z1.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
played that either.
yeah. So it's one of those things. It's very polarizing. They're all very different from each other too. So, but yeah. And then I've been messing around with Linux, but I'll get towards that towards the end because I have kind of some rants about that. But first story we get into is the Ryzenfall. Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this has like been the biggest non-story, just to trash. Yeah, the market pretty much. Um,
It's insert rant mode now.
Yeah.
The issue I have with this, because when I first saw this, I was like, this. I take this stuff very seriously. Like, you look at Spectre and you look at Meltdown, I got a hold of the white pages, I got a hold of the technical documentation, and I read through as much of that as possible. And what I thought was interesting is when those were released, Intel had been aware of that for close to 2.5 months.
mhm.
And the reason they need to be aware of this stuff for that long is because when somebody discovers a vulnerability of this magnitude, they don't just go, "Hey, everybody, this crap is broken."
Yeah.
Because then you literally alert everybody in the world that it's that this stuff is busted, it's broken, and it needs to be, and it need it's you expose a vulnerability of that magnitude to everyone in the world without telling the people who have the control and ability to fix it.
Yeah.
You are threatening everyone.
Yeah.
And I mean everyone. Anybody who's got an Intel chip, anybody's Spectre, Meltdown, anybody who has anything that has got that vulnerability, The reality was that, they announced it and said, "Hey, we discovered this thing." Intel and Microsoft, they had been aware of this for, like I said, 2 months, and they had 2 months to figure out almost 3 months, 2 to 3 months, how to figure out how to patch it.
Mm-hmm.
They had time to do their research, look at what was going on, and how to fix it, or whatnot. That's what they had. The Ryzenfall stuff, and there's like 3 or 4 different things. That Ryzenfall I just use because it's the catchy name that sticks in your head. But the problem I had with this release is the original release reads like a bad conspiracy theory blog.
It does. It's pretty bad.
It tries to make a point, but then it uses like fallacies, and it leads you to these conclusions that you're like, wait, that only makes sense in these specific type of criteria that you've kind of glazed over. And you're not telling us exactly how it works, but it's all the sky is falling, and I say this because that's how it was written. If you go back and read the Spectre and the Meltdown stuff, that stuff was.
There's 2 lines in that stuck out to me. One is that AMD needs to be responsible and stop selling all CPUs now, and I was like, what? And number 2 is just in there, just like randomly, AMD is now worth $0.00.
Yeah, and that's in there. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What? No, you don't get to make that call, especially when you're decided to de-pants AMD by finding this out, doing whatever, and maybe they knew it 3 months ago, but they didn't tell AMD until the day before.
Yeah.
They published all of this information.
They actually told. Didn't they tell the press before they told AMD?
No. They told AMD 24 hours before they released the press release. They did, however, hand off some of the technical information to some other person who, in the hacker community that I have been interacting with right after all this happened, and I asked them kind of open-ended, like, what are your guys' thoughts on this? And their thoughts were basically the same as mine. And then I'm like, okay, now that we're all in agreement with that, let's take a step back and, aside from the ridiculousness of how this was conveyed, is there any validity to this, and what validity is there? And the discussion that ensued was that we don't actually have any of the technical documentation, but from what they described, and I had this conversation before AMD actually announced a response to this, which was also equally hilarious. But anyway, the discussion we had was we don't have any of the information. It reads like just a bad conspiracy theory blog. It just reads like a hype train, and it can't say that enough. It was really annoying to read it. It was bad. It's clickbait. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Then when AMD made their response was basically, yeah, we heard about. They told us about this yesterday. We haven't really had a time to investigate very much. And we'll have an answer for you guys in a couple of days as to what, where, why, and how. And their response about most of the sky is falling vulnerabilities was you need root access of the local machine in Windows or Linux, but you need to have root access to be able to write a BIOS to make an effect on the BIOS.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was the way the vulnerability announcement was read. It was saying that you can make these BIOS updates, and that would permanently alter the system to where even after you reinstalled the OS, it's still vulnerable. And what AMD found was, no, actually, after a reboot, it doesn't. It goes away.
Yeah. So
that was false. They are working on a patch to mitigate the way this is going to be, how these things work, and some of the things that like the AMD signatory, you need an AMD signature to write stuff, and they were claiming that they could fake it. Well, if that was even possible, they're going to fix that and make it so it's even less likely that it's going to be able to happen. Most of those things are already working on a solution to patch it up, and it is not anywhere near as devastating or as bad or as unfixable as Spectre and Meltdown.
I mean, once this came out, and it took like a day for the tech world to kind of realize, like, oh, all these exploits pretty much need root access. At that point, okay.
Yeah. If your system is already compromised to root access, you've got a bigger problem on your hand than this 1 or 2 or 5 or 100 systems. It's like taking your door. If your door is already off its hinges with a giant "Welcome Hackers" sign, you're. I don't even know what to say to that. It's like you're already asking for problems. You have bigger problems than these people compromising these systems.
Yeah.
The statement that they were making that AMDs should be worth 0 and they need to stop selling CPUs. That's bullshit hype, because one of the last lines in their presentation was, we have to disclose that we may have an indirect interest in the securities of the company listed here, which basically means we have taken out a short on the company's stock, so when it tanks, they can collect large quantities of cash. They're basically insider trading by proactively seeding the descent of the market.
Now, I'm not going to say one thing one way or the other. I did find it interesting. Was it CT Labs or something like that is what these guys were called? They were formed 2 days after the Spectre Meltdown stuff was notified to Intel.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Take that as you will. Coincidence? Sure. Whatever.
Everything about this release smells fishy.
Yeah.
All of it. The whole thing. The whole thing none of it really lines up right. It's all a little on the messy side, and something's wrong with all of it.
Yeah.
And that's not me being some kind of like company fanboy. That's when you really stop and you objectively look at compare the Spectre and the Meltdown press release and the white papers to this documentation. And it's worse than trying to compare CNN to Crazy Joe's gun nut blog about aliens. I mean, that's literally like, it's worse than that. Oh. No, that would be, that's closer to CNN's malarkey level of obnoxiousness. They at least know what they're doing when they're writing stuff. Sometimes they're leading you. This one isn't even leading you. This one is grabbing you and dragging you for a ride, like most conspiracy theory blogs do.
Yeah,
it's just poorly written. It's not as it's not technical, and it's not even being dumbed down for an audience. It's dumb trying to talk up to an audience, and it's just wrong on so many levels.
What I'm overall curious about is how long CT Labs is still around.
Right.
And the other thing is like they have no credibility. Like they can say whatever the hell they want now, and if they are a real company, it's just gonna be like, okay, well, we'll believe you when you can actually prove something and not sound like a crazy person. What
really bothered me was, I read this immediately as soon as I heard about it, which was the day it was released. I heard about it and I was reading everything I could on this thing, and then I was just like, this is bullshit. A week and a half later, I get a message from somebody I know who actually owns AMD stock and was like going, holy crap, dude, what the hell is this? Did you hear about this? And I'm like, where did you get this article? And it was like some like Financial Times kind of article referencing this bullshit company, the press release, and really questioning whether or not AMD is a viable stock at this point. I'm like,
I mean, that's just another example of the press not understanding. Like, obviously, the person writing it doesn't understand the technology scene at all. I mean, how many times this past couple weeks has the Facebook thing been a data breach, and it's not?
I don't know why anybody we've known for years. It's like if somebody suddenly came out and said, oh, by the way, Google had a data breach because they sold a bunch of... Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
How? Duh.
That's their whole business model. It has been forever.
We have been preaching Facebook's data, like data collection and selling aspect of their business as that's a thing for years.
Yeah.
Which
Anyways,
is why we all create fake accounts and go crazy and looking at all sorts of different stuff. So it's all differently. All of it's assigned to us, but we all look like we're schizophrenic lunatics with 12 different accounts. It's like, nobody really has that much time on their hands.
yeah. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just trying to make a point about the press.
No, it is. It's true. It's one person says something that's so clickbaity that you have to kind of dig into it. You're like, oh. In this case, it is something that sounds somewhat credible to the ignorant mind.
Yes.
And then you've got everybody parroting this all across the board. This company over here said this. This company said this. Like, did you actually stop to ask anybody else that's in the field? I mean, that's what they do on the damn, that's what they do on the noise channels.
Yeah.
Is, they've got their resident expert that has a biased opinion that aligns with whatever we have, or we get somebody who is, you only get the person who is intelligent and capable of explaining things once. Because if the conversation doesn't go the way they want it to, then they don't invite them back. You see them crop up on a different news channel somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I always kind of chuckle at that. But anyway, no, it's like this company came out and said something that was completely crazy. And then you had everybody I spoke to in every InfoSec, everything, all had the same opinion of it. And it would boil down to the fact that the best practice, or the normal procedure when you discover something like this, is you give it to the company and you give them time to fix it. Imagine if the company that discovered the vulnerability, or the guys that discovered the vulnerability in the wasn't the OnStar computer, but it was that Chevy truck, or that whole system where it sprints IP addresses, and they were able to bounce back into the car and take control of the car and turn it on and off.
I remember
Imagine if they figured this out and then immediately published exactly how to do that onto the internet. How many deaths would have been caused by random Joe Schmo 10-year-old kid who happens to catch wind of this and starts scrambling around on his freaking dad's computer or his mom's computer and starts crashing cars all over the place?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
The fact that by the time they announced it at DEF CON, or whichever convention it was that they announced it at, the company in question had plenty of time to fix it. So by the time they made the announcement and showed the video of what they had been doing, and the news team that they had worked with to broadcast this, by the time that was published, it had already been fixed. It had already been patched.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a decent thing to do too.
Yeah.
And
that's how the InfoSec community works.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they try to do.
Yeah.
And except in this case, and screw those guys. I'm sorry, but the fact that they blatantly were like, "Hi, we took a short out on the stock. We're going to see how far we can tank it."
Mm-hmm.
Die. Like, I don't want you to kill yourself. I just want you to, find your Zen space and stop existing. And I just
become a skull in the background.
Yeah, it's. I don't really wish death upon people, but I wish non-existence upon them. So you just go away. Maybe just go do something else. Bake cookies.
Go eat a Tide Pod.
No, see, that's... Somebody has to clean up that mess. Just go bake cookies. Become a baker. Get out of the InfoSec world. You're bad at it. Go bake cookies. Maybe make some bread. And get some butter. Make some toast. Make super toast.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I got to say about it.
All right.
The whole thing irritates the crap out of me. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. It's cool. You got it out now. You can chill. All right.
I'm in Zen space.
So
find my Ryzen space.
Ryzen 7 2700X leaks and WCCF tech. Yeah, I get it. Anyways, they ran a few tests here. Turns out you can get a few hundred megahertz on these. Not really shocked. This is kind of what I was expecting. Looks like 4.3 on all cores is what they were able to reach. Oddly, later on in one of their tests, 4.25, so I guess it wasn't entirely stable. But some of the listing here, it's kind of weird that they're saying that 4.3 max, and then the turbo on these is listed at 4.35. I guess it doesn't affect it as much when it's only 2 cores, but I can tell you, like on my Ryzen chip, it doesn't go very much higher than what the turbo's already doing.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, in all reality, your turbo clock is an overclock. It's got a throttling, so it conserves power.
yeah,
And in all reality, if you don't need it, don't use it that way.
yeah,
It's like a car. You put your pedal to the floor, the supercharger and the turbochargers kick in. But if you're just idling, I hope to God your turbocharger isn't going crazy.
yeah. I took mine off water because I don't even overclock it. I didn't see the point. It's just like air's fine. But yeah, if this is true, if you get a 2700X, I'd once again just say if AMD's hammering it that close to the wall and they don't really overclock that much more anyways, I would just say just use XFR and just keep it stock. Because there's really no point, because from when I did testing on this one, with the way XFR works, it's supposed to be 3.8 turbo, 3.9 max after XFR kicks in. Playing games are mostly single threaded. You're going to get the same performance whether you do that or you hit all of them at 3.9 anyways.
Yeah.
And then I saved like 20 seconds on a 10-minute video rendering out at 3.9 compared to 3.5. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't have much to say about it. It's pretty much what I expected.
I don't know. I spent all day today helping a buddy of mine tune his Threadripper 1950X board.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of jealousy that I have. He calls me up last week and he's like, "Hey man, I want to build a new machine. I want to go overkill." I'm like, "Okay, well, what's your budget?" He goes, "Don't care. We'll tune it when we get to the base price. You give me something overkill." So I gave him an Intel build and I gave him the AMD build, and he decided to go with an AMD build, which I'm stoked about. So he ended up with a 1950X. I actually suggested to him like a Ryzen 7, and then he came back and was like, "What about this chip?" And I'm like, that's an expensive chip. He goes, "Yeah, I know." Okay, we'll do that. So we got that. We got a Corsair water cooling all-in-one, with the radiator, the all-in-one cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a 1 terabyte M.2 drive, which that thing is nice, like really nice. It's got an X399 board. It's got the Threadripper. It's got 64 gigs of RAM. He's going to end up actually streaming to Twitch, doing Photoshop stuff, where he's going to do like edits and.
Well, he's going to have a shitload of overhead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hence he's also got a 1080 Ti. So he's got one of those. He's got 64 gigs of RAM. And he only got 64 because that 64 gigs is 4 16 gig sticks, which gives him the option to expand to 128 when he decides to next paycheck.
Yeah.
When he decides to buy the next run of 64 gigs of RAM if he needs it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the damn thing runs Far Cry 5 with a pretty damn nice frame rate. It was upwards of 90s, 100 something.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I was like, what? So,
yeah,
nice stuff. That's what I spent my day doing, and I'm just jealous because he's got it, and I have to sit here and work on it and kind of laugh and go, oh, I'm not. Oh.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, though.
It makes you jealous when you're like, there's so much I could do with this. So many things I could run at once.
It's okay. He's still blown away by my server back in the vault.
If I had a Threadripper, I'd be like, "Hey Wendell, how do I get Arch Linux to VM Windows?"
Well, first you uninstall Arch Linux, and then you install something that's less bad. I'm going to get all the hate for that, but Wendell and I actually agree on this. Arch is for any kind of production environment.
No. I thought there's a lot of development for that going on right now.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Oh, okay.
When you're running a production environment, you want something that is stable and secure, and the way that the Arch rolling updates and all that kind of stuff go on, and how it can be affected if somebody wanted to taint a piece of code that gets installed, by the time anybody catches it, everybody's going to have a problem.
Well, anyways, to finish up this, yeah, like I said, overclocked to 4.3 on just the H90.
This thing's pretty awesome.
Yeah, score pretty similar to Skylake X7820. It scored 19,046, I'm guessing, with the overclock. Firestrike at 22,226, close to Threadripper 1920. The main thing I was looking for is it looks like the RAM issue got mostly fixed. I don't know what they didn't say what RAM they were using, but they were running at 3600, which I can't even get mine past 2933.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's what they were saying at the bottom of their little chart here. They're showing at 2933.
Mm-hmm. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stoked about some of this stuff.
Yes. And
what's this next one you got on here? This Billy Mitchell versus Twin Galaxy.
Yeah, so for you guys that don't know, Twin Galaxies goes way back. It was an arcade originally. It was owned by a guy called Walter Day. Later on, he figured out all these kids are getting really serious about the arcade games. They're trying to beat each other's highest scores. So then he started opening up a service in his arcade where they started keeping the scores in the arcade. And it blew up bigger over the years and became a forum and everything. And so the forum's keeping all the high scores. Have you ever seen the movie King of Kong before, where Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe were going at each other for the high score in Donkey Kong?
No, but now I want to.
Yes. So in this, they're very particular. They're like, you have to use real arcade hardware. You have to at least tape it and submit your entire playthrough. So it's, we know what you're, if it's legitimate or not. So at the end of King of Kong, Steve Wiebe's like trying really hard. He's played for hours and hours and hours. Like, it gets to the point where it's insane. Like, they're literally drawing on the arcade machine screen to map out the route of which they're going to take in each level of Donkey Kong for the high score and everything. And so it gets to the point where at the end of the movie, Steve Wiebe's getting like, a million point plus in Donkey Kong. And all of a sudden, here comes Billy Mitchell and he hands a videotape. And they go through and they watch it and they verify, and he just beats Steve Wiebe, who was actually playing the real arcade machine there. But because of their roles, it's a legitimate tape. Somebody verified it. Here you go. And they watched it and said it's a legitimate thing. So years go by. Walter Day decides, there's some rumors that Billy Mitchell, he has like a hot sauce company or something like that. And he was helping fund Twin Galaxies, so they were still around. In 2014, Jace Hall, you guys might know from like YouTube and other things, ended up buying Twin Galaxies and put it like on Twitch and all this other stuff. So now his whole personality is he owns it. He didn't give a rat's ass, and it was brought to their attention. It looks like because of the way that the Donkey Kong levels render the girders in like the first level, that the version of MAME that would have been out at the time that this score submitted renders it in a way that the arcade hardware cannot.
Interesting.
So they're going back through, and like I watched the stream. So there's this stream here that Twin Galaxies put up where Jace Hall is literally going through, and he's got a $6,000 VCR that he can actually scrub through each frame individually.
Nice.
And everything. So they're going through this tape, watching it, and it is, sure enough, only rendering 3 girders instead of 5. The other thing is in the following one where you're taking the rivets out of the Donkey Kong level, the girders on MAME immediately fall where they don't on the arcade.
Oh, they just go from the top to bottom where they
they just immediately just go. And in the arcade, if you go an extra frame, you'll actually see the girders halfway in between before they go all the way down.
Huh.
So, watching this, it was interesting. There was another thing that was picked up by somebody in the Facebook live chat that they noticed when in Donkey Kong, when you get a 1-up, like the 1-up actually flashes for like something like 5 to 7 seconds, and it varies depending on how hot or cold the hardware is and stuff. It'll actually, for like extra couple frames. They noticed for an obscene amount, like something like 22 seconds, it flashed. So they think that's where he had a save state in MAME and cut it right there.
Huh.
So he's using save states and stuff to get his high scores and basically cheat. So with that in mind, and they're not outright saying it, there hasn't been a ruling yet. One of his partners actually hooked up a Donkey Kong arcade machine, and his whole attitude at the start of the stream was basically like, Billy, there's a lot of people wasting time here trying to prove that you're innocent. I just wish you'd come out because I don't want to be still doing this. And they're just trying on this like 2-bit converter for like the arcade machines. It's like a VCR into a PC, and they cannot get actual arcade to render the levels in the way that it's happening in MAME, despite Billy Mitchell claiming that he was playing on real arcade machines.
How is he filming it?
So the way it happens is when you film here, I'll like kind of go through real quick and.
Okay.
Oh, no, I want to keep that muted. Okay, so like right here where they're showing how it's shown up. So when you go through the JAMA connector, there's actually like a 2-bit converter that you can get. It'll pick up the signal from the JAMA connector. And back then that 2-bit converter would go to like RCA outs or something and back into VCR. And the reason
RF
it's...
modulator.
Yeah. So the reason it's flipped is because the Donkey Kong machine is actually a screen flipped 180 up. So when you record it, it's 180 to the side.
Yeah.
So, this is the way they record it. The other claim is the video doesn't have any sound. It's much easier to get the video out of the machine than it is to get the audio, because the audio, then you actually have to start physically splicing cables on the machine. So a lot of people are claiming probably it doesn't have audios, mostly so they don't have like the sound glitches and stuff that MAME would pick up. Which is something that wouldn't have discounted it back then, but today, now it looks suspicious knowing all this.
Huh.
So, yeah, this has turned into a thing for the past couple of weeks, and Billy Mitchell, I think a lot of people are just loving it because he's a really super arrogant. Just, you know, he got on Time Magazine when he was a kid, besting Pac-Man, and has been trying to ride that wave ever since.
Huh.
And, yeah, if this ends up being the thing, then it turns out King of Kong, Steve Wiebe, would have had the high score and lost it to a cheater. And that kind of stings a little bit extra, seeing that he had worked so many hours trying to get the patterns in Donkey Kong and everything figured out. So I don't know, I'm still waiting to see how this turns out, but I watched a lot of this video. I watched the second one. This is right here at the beginning is where the 1-up starts flashing. It's an interesting discussion. I always had a bad feeling about the guy, but you can't really say, you know, like J. Saul says, he doesn't care about the person in general. The only thing that's in question is the high score, and they need to re-verify it because new evidence has been brought to light. So it's cool that they're doing that. They've had cheaters in the Twin Galaxies forums before actually get exposed. So, but Billy Mitchell's been one of their top people up till this date. So, yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out. But yeah,
That'd be very interesting to see. We were discussing this earlier, and it was something that I didn't know about you, that you have been repairing arcade machines forever.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting element, because this is something that probably never would have crossed my desk if not for you. So this is pretty interesting. I'm pretty stoked. I might be following this a little more detailed as time progresses.
Yeah, arcade machines are interesting in general just because of the variances and stuff that can happen because of the old hardware and whatnot. But this is just too much of a variance to count for something. They have not been able to get any machine, because every once in a while, like I said, like a machine, like the main board will get hot. Some machines actually have, like, say for instance, like Spy Hunter actually has a separate board for the music compared to the rest of the sound effects. And that's mostly because like one of the designers is like a came from pinball, and pinball machines tend to have separate boards for different audio channels and stuff like that. But this is they're not able to recreate it. It's pretty much a done deal, and now I'm just waiting to see what the overall thing is. But I find that old hardware immensely fascinating. I always have. I love working on it. Except electromechanical pinball machines. Just screw those things. I don't ever want to deal with those. Just a mess of piano wire and crap. But yeah. So it's something I was interested. I just wanted to bring it up. I think it's pretty cool. It's been getting a lot of traction as far as news goes on this stuff, because Billy Mitchell, this is what he's known for, and he lets everybody know it.
And it'd be very interesting to watch this Titanfall.
Yeah. Be funny if a Titan fell on him. The fall.
That would be.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong will fall
That'd be
on.
great.
Next thing you got on the list here, you got Monolith to remove Shadow of War loot boxes
Yes. Thank you.
because it makes the game worse.
Yeah. So after basically it's going to come out 8 months after the game came out, and their conclusion is yes, the game is worse for having loot boxes, so they're getting rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. See, I look at games that have something like that, and it's like, ooh, it's a box. You open it up, you get stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's no like if it's implemented in the same way like the original Diablo is. You kill a monster, you get crap loot. You get a bunch of loot. That's basically the same thing. You kill a monster, you get loot. You kill a monster, you get loot. You kill the butcher, you get loot. You kill something bigger and stronger, you get loot. And every single thing you kill that gives you an item as loot has a chance of being super awesome and unique and fantastic and overpowered, and you can't even use it yet. That's great. And that's that was Diablo.
Yeah.
And then you get games like I don't know. I think when you look at games like Heroes of the Storm or any of these esports games where there's a lot of non-gameplay changing effects.
Costumes and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, no, I say gameplay changing because the game itself, if you mute it, you're not going to have any different whatsoever. Visually, it's different, but otherwise, it's the same game. The character operates the same. Even when it comes to some of the characters that they've got a skin that changes all of their skills and everything is suddenly just skinned differently. That's cool, but it doesn't actually change doesn't change damage, doesn't change speed or any of those kinds of things. I think those loot boxes are great because it's just like, you play the game, you get cool stuff. You play the game, you can unlock a character. You play the game, you unlock a skin, and it's random. Sometimes you can re-roll and get something cooler, but you can't exchange them, you can't sell it. It's just there. It's a reward for playing the game.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that, personally. But Shadow War, it was basically like a time saver. So you didn't have to grind so much to play the game. That's when I start having a problem with it, is when you are artificially inflating the time it takes to get through the game to have something that's an extra money maker. I mean, good on them for realizing this and eventually taking it out, but for all I knew, this was the plan in the first place. Yeah. I will tell you that I'm super happy about it. I have, what was the first one? Shadow Mordor. Mm-hmm. I have not played it because I looked at this and I was like, well, I'm never going to play this, so why would I just go ahead and start and tease myself? Now that this is getting taken out, I'll probably go play Shadow Mordor, and when this goes on sale, I'll go pick this up too. But, that's my main thing, is this loot boxes that lengthens, because I'm somebody, I know you don't, I don't have a lot of time to sit there and grind on one game at a time, so the more games I can play and are artificially inflated, the happier that I am. I don't know if that makes any sense, but time's everything to me. And when you make me waste my time to play your game when I don't need to, but I can save my time by giving you extra money, which I've already given you $60. I'm kind of not cool with. So, yeah. But games like Overwatch and stuff, it's just costumes? No. And I think that's cool, because some of the costumes in those games look really cool, like Overwatch Heroes of the Storm, stuff like that. So anyways, that's my gist on that one.
And last but not least, Steam machines are done for, so says PC Gamer. Yes. Because SteamOS has kind of vanished. I think it's one of those things where I don't think they should have removed it. I think it should have just silently left it where it was.
So they are still actively working on SteamOS, which is odd.
Yeah.
But the machines got taken off the Valve page now, or off the Steam store. So, it is what it is. I think part of my problem with SteamOS is it didn't really. It would have been awesome if they gave you also the desktop, because really it was just big picture mode for the layman.
Yeah, I know the whole idea behind it was that they wanted to make a machine that was going to compete with a console. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it kind of proved that the consoles, your Xbox and your PlayStations were just computers with specialized software.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make an open source tunable thing that was going to be geared toward running Steam games. So here's a Linux distribution that plays games on Steam. You can plug in a keyboard, you can plug in a mouse, you can get the controller, any or all of the above. But the whole point behind it was that Linux gaming is now viable.
Yeah.
That was the goal. At least that's the impression that I got.
Yeah.
And it pushed a lot of development in that direction.
It did.
Which I thought was awesome, which means they put a lot of time and energy into making a Steam client for Linux.
I think
and then they tuned it. So,
and I will say I love that Alienware machine. I usually don't like Alienware stuff, but that was pretty nifty how small that was.
Yeah.
You know, it helped, like you said, it helped a lot. It did get a little bit of a adrenaline shot to Linux. I'm kind of curious now, like I've noticed in the past couple of months, like Linux is starting to get the back seat again with a lot of developers. Mostly AAA. But I think one of the other problems that they had was there's a lot of promises. Games like Batman, for instance, was supposed to come to it, and then all of a sudden they changed their mind. You know, if that was PlayStation would not have been, or Sony, they would not have been cool with that. Valve was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. They didn't really. I think to compete with the console market, you have to have kind of a console mentality. And open source and all this is great, but at the same time, they need to they should have really had people under contract for a lot of those games to bring them over.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of different elements here, right? When you look at you look at the Xbox, you look at the PlayStation, the hardware that was put in there. There's been a lot of time and effort and energy and coding have been put into making that stuff work with that hardware, and making the software work with the hardware, and allowing the APIs to function and use the hardware at the most efficient, capable. My God, there's a dog here. What is she doing? You're literally sniffing the wall. Stop it! Driving me crazy. Anyway, and then you look at look at a Windows machine. Windows has spent a lot of time, and software developers within Windows have spent a lot of time, and with like NVIDIA and AMD have spent a lot of time developing these APIs that allow DirectX to work with this graphics hardware. And it wasn't until AMD started really heavily pushing Mantle that we had any real push to recreating these APIs for that would be compatible with Linux. Both there's a really famous video of Linus Torvalds having choice words for NVIDIA directly related to this, and AMD has been helpful and they've been trying, but they probably got like 5 guys on a team. I don't know, but I mean that's my guess. Is if you look at the grander scheme of stuff, there's probably like 5 guys, if that, on a team who are developing for the Linux stuff, and they're probably not getting as much help as they need. The NVIDIA guys, I figured that there's maybe one guy who's like, I'll get to it when I get to it, but I don't know. It's one of those conversations that I've never had a chance to have with someone like Tom Peterson from NVIDIA, and be like, WTF, man, can we get this stuff working in this direction? Can we help? Can you write some stuff? Can you figure it out?
It is a bit odd when a R9 Fury runs faster than a 1080.
Right, and the thing is that's it's like if you were stuck, I don't know, you stuck corn syrup in your gas tank, and then you actually put some like super high octane stuff in a racing engine, and you're like, which one's going to go faster? Well, the one that actually burns fuel properly. That's what's going to happen. So my biggest thing, my analogy then, my point is that when you're writing software that is supposed to interface with hardware, and the software is either bad, incomplete, or doesn't have as much time and energy put into it to develop it properly and tune out all the bugs, you're going to end up with a slug, or you're not going to be firing on all cylinders. I have a stack of analogies that I can come up with, but yeah, I think y'all get the idea.
Yeah. So, having said that, let's end the show with my little rant.
Awesome. I'm waiting to hear this.
Yes. So, for the past 2 weeks, some of you may not know, I installed Ubuntu. It's mostly out of frustration with Windows 10 and just trying to do normal day-to-day routine stuff. It frustrates me. So, Windows is now starting, like, this is probably going to be the last one of these shows that's going to be recorded on Windows.
Cool.
Windows is now being relegated as my gaming OS. I am dual booting, and that is mostly what it is. When I want to play certain games like PUBG, it's okay. I have SSDs. They don't take that long to reboot. We'll just go into Windows. Having said that, there's little things that bug me about Ubuntu. There's apparently been a bug forever in Ubuntu that sometimes my games will not launch on the right screen. They go over here. And some games, there's not really a fix besides just shutting this monitor off, which I don't want to do because I want to have things like Discord and stuff over here. But having said that, it's getting better. Like, I tried this whole Ubuntu Linux thing a couple years ago, and AMD ran like absolute dog. It ran like shit. Absolute dog pile. My God, has it gotten way better. I went in there, I updated the kernel, added, I think it's called Polka, or I don't know. It's Pablo Diaz's PPA. And he pretty much compiles everything in Mesa that you need to have and put it in there. And it's night and day. It literally is. Like, Rocket League pretty much runs on par with Windows.
That's awesome.
BioShock Infinite. It had some weird swings every once in a while, but mostly it was like pegged out. And I'm on an RX 580. It's mostly pegged out at ultra settings at like 120 frames a second. No problem. I notice even like in some cases, like there's a certain spot when I run like the challenges in BioShock Infinite where the frame rate just lags on Windows and just goes to 45. Stays up on Linux for whatever. There are instances of games that run better in Linux than they do in Windows. It's not what you think. Like, an example is like Axiom Verge. Screen tears like crazy because despite you putting it, like, their VSync doesn't work. I have a 144 hertz monitor. It wants to run at 151 with VSync on. You turn VSync off, then you're getting like 600, 700 frames. You're just throwing processing power out the window that you don't need to. Linux 144 perfectly. So there's instances where things do run better, but it's also vice versa. It's give and take both ways.
Yeah, and part of that, a lot of that has to do with who wrote the software, who wrote the game, how they implemented it, the API, what they use in DirectX, what they used in like Vulkan, or whatever they're using for the differences between the two. I mean, all of that is taken into consideration. It's not just there's so many different layers here. So if you have a really crappy hardware API and your graphics drivers are trash, it doesn't matter how well tuned the software is to use that, it's still going to be buggy. And if you can fix this, suddenly this is so much better. But if this is fantastic and pristine, and then you're writing really sloppy code for your game, and its interface with the hardware is crappy because it just was poorly written, or was written just, the implementation was bad, suddenly you have a really bad experience anyway. And you have the exact same thing with Windows, and you have the exact same thing with DirectX and DirectX 11 or 12 or any of these things, or even Vulkan in Windows, is all of those elements have to line up properly, and everything unlocks, and it's all amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get your feet wet in Linux, I would say for both NVIDIA, AMD, don't expect the same gaming performance on most things. Sometimes you'll be surprised by how good it is. But I would say if you want to mess with it, go ahead, but probably always leave Windows as a dual boot if you're a serious gamer, because you're going to want to have that. If you're somebody that's doing production, that's my main thing right now. I have yet to find like a really good interface that I don't have to go the terminal and even just like control things on the Logitech cameras for like recording and stuff. Logitech cameras are pretty much just left to auto settings. There's really not a good setting for that yet. Some things surprisingly, like these have that chat dial on them, work pretty well right off the bat in Linux. Like, it recognized it and it's fine. So it's I can't sit here and ever say anybody ditch Windows, go to Linux, because it's just not that way. But for me, I'm having fun with it. I'm learning new things. When there's a new challenge, I figure out how to overcome that, and then I just, I'm a little bit more stronger for knowing that than I was before. Linux has never been my primary system or my primary OS, but I'm trying to change it now for different reasons. Just like in Windows, that's the whole debate about free software and stuff. I don't think at any time, and this can go back to the Facebook thing, well, even worse so in my opinion of like some of the Razer stuff and all that. Razer makes really good products, but I shouldn't pay for a product and then become the product. And what I mean by that is there software where you sign in. They say it's for cloud storage or whatnot, but I just don't feel comfortable with that. Another one is like the NVIDIA graphics card driver. If I want to use Shadowplay, why do I need to sign in? That's always been a problem for me. So that's one of the reasons I don't support those guys anymore, is because I like Logitech. There's a driver software. I consider it part of the price of the product or whatnot. And I'm starting to look at other stuff now, like Caden Live to do video editing and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting journey that I want to document along the way, but by no means can I ever tell anybody that Linux is perfect. It's by far perfect for...
I mean, what I always think is funny is that people do try to sit here and talk about how Linux is fantastic and awesome and so great, and that's why I kind of laugh when you talk like Lunduke and he's like, Linux sucks. It's like, it sucks for all of these reasons, but it's awesome because of all those same reasons.
Yeah.
And you look at Windows, and Windows doesn't have that contrast. Windows just is. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems with the OS. There's a lot of great things with the OS. Same thing with Mac OS. There's a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of great things with it. And no matter how you shake, which way you look at it, some of these do things better than others.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
And that's the reality of it.
Yeah. So, hey, if you got an itch that you want to learn it, by all means, it's free. It's not going to hurt you. Dual boot it. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue with dual booting that people have had, and maybe we should do a video or something and actually cover this, because the issue that a lot of people have had with dual booting.
For some reason, I just randomly got a follow now, even though I'm not streaming. So, anyways.
One of the things that when you look at wow, I just completely lost it. Oh.
Sorry.
No, lost it. Sorry. I was like, what? What is he talking about?
Damn you person that randomly followed.
Like, that's hilarious. You're supposed to shut that shit off. Oh, what the hell was I talking about? I literally just lost it because I got 6 things going on.
Yeah, something about Linux and Windows and...
Oh.
Yeah. How they're not really exclusively better than the other.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah. Anyway, I was going to go somewhere with that, and I can't remember now. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It is really hot here, and my brain starts to shut off at 75 degrees, and I'm trying really hard to, I'm sitting underneath a ceiling fan.
You're also encased in headphones. That doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I've got a dog that is like an oven trying to attack me. Yes, you're a pretty dog. I know. It's a Siberian Husky. She's going to come say hi. All right, come on. You going to come up here? Oh, yeah, there she is. Say hello to everybody. This is Trial Run. My name is Kane.
And he's being attacked.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah, give us follows on the at Twitter. You need to hit us up for anything or whatnot. Just follow. And we'll see you whenever we have time to do another one of these. Later.